In the workshop, how to repair a broken Minelab Ctx 3030 metal detector coil. This is part 2, bonding the new parts to the broken lugs. The original lugs were made of ABS, as indeed is the rest of the coil case, and I need to bond my parts to this old ABS using some special adhesive, and this is called Bison, and this stuff turned out to be perfect for the job that I want it for. Before rushing and sticking the parts together using this adhesive, I need to make sure that it will dissolve ABS, which it seems to do very well. I've put an amount of it on the original board, and as you can clearly see, this adhesive really does melt the original ABS very well. So at this point I applied some to the edges of the broken parts and stuck them back together. To hold the parts in position while they bonded together, I used 2 small pieces of thin brass sheet held together by spring clamps. Doing it this way is essential. It's very important to make sure that the parts are in perfect alignment after they've fused together. This is the essential difference between using epoxy resin and this special adhesive, which actually chemically welds the surfaces together. Now it's time to apply quite a lot of the adhesive to one of the parts that I made, and then I stick this in position. Once again, as before, using spring clamps to hold it until the adhesive is completely set. Now it's time for the other side. Exactly the same process. Apply plenty of adhesive, clamp it in place, and here's a shot once again of the adhesive itself. Once all of the parts are firmly welded together, it's on to the next step. In part 1, I showed and mentioned that I was keeping the drillings that came out of the hole. And that's because now I need to make a very sort of thick and gloopy slip to fill the gaps. This stuff is quite tricky to apply. It strings a lot. It's a little bit like eating mozzarella cheese with a fork. Health and safety warning, I do not recommend eating liquefied ABS. This would damage your health. You can see what I've done. I've filled all the gaps with this stuff, and it's really messy and it looks horrible. Yes, I freely admit it really looks horrible, but please continue watching. This liquefied ABS mixture flows into all the cracks and produces a homogeneous joint. It's most important now to leave the part for 24 hours before continuing. Now it's time to use my Proxxon motor tool with the drum sander. Here's a tip. Do not run the drum sander too fast, otherwise it melts the ABS and makes a mess of it. This is running quite slowly, but it's still a bit on the fast side. This is more like the speed you need to go at. Even slower would be even better. All I'm doing with the drum sander is getting the basic shape. The rest of the work is done by hand. Using emery cloth, first of all 100 grit, which easily removes a lot of the ABS without melting it. After the 100 grit, I moved on to a finer grade, followed by some wet or dry sandpaper, which was 400 grade, very fine. And now the job looks like this. Fairly horrible still. I must admit I'm not impressed with this. The next part of the job involves painting these lugs with some neat acetone, 100% pure acetone, not nail polish remover. That has water in it and it's very weak. And by using a paintbrush with the acetone, I'm sort of blending everything back into the right order. If you don't have any ABS adhesive but you have some neat acetone, you can make your own adhesive by just dissolving some of the ABS in the acetone and then painting it on like this. But the glue's quicker. In my left hand is a polythene cap, and in this cap I have a little acetone. And as you can see, as I brush the acetone onto the ABS parts, when I put the brush back in the pot, you will notice that it's transferred some of the ABS into the pot of acetone. I thought this was going to work and make it look really nice, but once it dried, it left it a very pale sort of colour. The next step is to rub the part down once again with some very fine wet or dry sandpaper and paint it using a really good quality paint. A paint that I often use for these kind of jobs is HMG Satin Black, and even though it says Satin Black on the tin, I think it's nearer to a matte black, and once it's dried it matches the plastic that's already there. I am aware that it doesn't look like that at the moment because the paint's still wet, but once it's dried it's a different story. I'll turn the can round so you can see where to get this stuff from. It really is good. Time to look at the finished product. It's as good as new, but no, not really, that is a new one. I thought I'd put that in the image. I bought that because I wasn't confident that my repair would be a success, to be honest. But it was. Here is my repair, much stronger than the original, and far better than the thorough mess it was when I got it. And just in case some viewers are thinking, well, what's going on? There's nothing about steam engines in this one. And that is very true, but I've personally found it quite interesting teaching myself how to successfully repair ABS parts and I'm sure that this experience will prove very useful in the future. I've found that my life has just been one big learning curve, and I enjoy every minute of it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website. Click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you will find it very easy to find other videos that you may like to watch.